Hey guys, Psycho here again. Now today we're going to be building an NES gaming shelf, and this shelf's going to be able to hold everything from the NES to the N64 to PlayStation, whatever you have in your collection. So let's go over materials that we have here. We have 3 pieces of 1x8, 2 pieces have been cut at 6 feet, another piece has been cut at 4. These two will be the sides, this will be the top. We have a piece of 1x10. We went a little bit bigger for the base, just so that way it's more stable or whatever, and having that extra couple inches will make a difference. We also have 6 pieces of 1x6. And we'll be cutting these in half, and we'll be putting 4 feet per shelf as we go down through. Now, why did I choose to go with these sizes? Well, that's what's going to work. Basically, I can't go too much higher than 6 feet because I'll be banging into a shelf overhead, so 6 feet is how it went. And 4 feet across is basically all I have for room as well. So that's why I went with those sizes, and it works. Because these come in lengths of 8 feet, so I can just cut them in half. It's simple and it's easy to work with. Also, everything's been dictated by the size of games. Now, if you see here, I have an NES game. That's going to fit just perfect on that, so 6 inches work. We're also going to make them 6 inches apart for the Super Nintendo, so that way both games will fit in the shelf. Now let's have a look at the tools we need. So having a look at some of the tools, I'm going to be using a miter saw just to cut the boards. It's quick and easy. Pencil, safety glasses, going to need some screws. I bought 3-inch screws, and they should work fairly well for this application. You need a bit, a drill, measuring tape, and I didn't throw this in the cost, but I did have some wood stain left over, in which I'm going to be using. I like just to look at it. You could paint it, whatever, but the stain is what I'm going to use. And the cost of wood and the screws came to just 60 bucks, so fairly cheap to build this, and it should look and work pretty well. So once we have everything measured and marked, just double check to make sure that's where it's going to cut. Make sure everything is lined up perfectly, and give her. Works for me. 5 more to go. So before we start nailing everything down, we're just going to give a quick little layout on how it should look. Now, like I say, none of this has been measured yet, but when we start nailing, we're going to have this end to this end is going to be exactly 6 inches. And then from the top of this to the bottom of our bookshelf, or back of it, is going to be 6 inches. So we're going to have a 6x6 for NES games as well as Super Nintendo games. And then of course our bottom, like you can see now, it sticks out a little bit. That's going to give us extra support, and it should look pretty good when we're done. Alright, so we have the top piece and the bottom piece screwed together, and I've ran into my first problem. The original screws that I bought are just way too long, and they actually will, if they curve a little bit inside the wood, they'll actually come out the top or the bottom. It's just 3 inches, just way too long. So scratch that, guys. Go with something like 2.5 or a 1.5 to 2 inch screw. This one here is 1.5, and that's plenty for this. So this is so far what everything looks like. So far so good. You can see here that I left the screws out a little bit, and the reason for that is if you use a drill like I've been using, and if you go in too far, it will, well, crack your board. So the trick here is just to leave it out a little bit and then finish it off like these ones by hand. But you can see no gap. There's a little gap there, and then that will cinch it up enough that you won't see that. But so far so good. Games are looking good, good clearance. It's gonna look good when it's all done. So this is the final product. As you can see, we've already got one coat of stain on it. We're gonna wait a couple hours and then put another coat on. Now, I didn't show much of the actual construction of this because it's actually pretty simple. The biggest thing is just making sure that your space between the two was 6 inches. So as long as you did that for every one, it should work. And we'll come over to the side. Now, I'm not much of a carpenter, so these don't line up whatsoever, but if they bother you, you can just fill that in with some wood filler and then varnish over that. But all in all, I think it came together pretty well. I figure we can fit about 960 games on this shelf. Well, thereabouts anyway, so we can put the entire NES library on here if we want. So, I'm just going to let this dry, get the second coat on, and then we're going to get this in the game room. So, we finally got the shelf in. Now you can see why I went with the size that I did. 6 feet high by 4 feet wide, because it just fits perfect. So the only thing I'm going to do now is put little anchors on the back, and so it'll hold it right against the wall. It actually will probably be down on this one. And then I can start loading this up with video games. All in all, this should hold 960 games, so this should be a lot of empty space left, but we'll fill it up eventually. So everything's coming around. I don't have nothing down at the bottom yet, but all my NES games are up, and all my Super NES games are up. Now, I overestimated how much this shelf was actually going to hold. I thought it was going to hold 96 games, but it actually only holds 71. So this shelf will hold 710 games. But this bottom shelf is not going to count, because I'm actually going to put either boxes or Sega down here or something. So realistically, this shelf, as big as it is, will not hold the whole library of NES. Oh well. The only other thing I did is I did anchor it up here. I just moved it over from those supports, and it does hold. Like, I can shake this pretty hard and it's not moving. Just a little bit. Side to side it will move a little bit, but it's not coming out from the wall. And I got my Action 52 up top. I'm not going to put that in this part here just because it's one of my rarest games, so. And of course, Super Mario RPG and the 2 Mario Karts. I do have quite a few doubles of Super Nintendo that I haven't gotten rid of yet. I actually got 4 copies of Super Mario World and another Link to the Past. Can never have too many Zeldas though. Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, another RPG, and Contra 3. So, next on the list, I'm going to put the N64 games down. And here it is, guys. Not much space left on it, actually. I mean, if you're going to just stack your games like the NES's, you could put a lot of stuff up, but I did space a lot of stuff out to make it look better. I'll give you just a quick little pan of everything, but we'll go over everything else in the room tour video. That Mario Kart is just there because I'm deciding which one's better, because I have 2. The other one's going to go up for sale or trade or something. All my Atari, television stuff, Sega, Xbox, PlayStation 2. Now, I wasn't really going to put my PlayStation stuff down here. I was just going to take that out altogether, but I decided that it fills it up pretty decent, so I'm going to keep it. So now I have a ton more space up here, which I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm pretty sure I'll put different boxes or stuff up. There's the second games. Those games there are all going up for trade too. I didn't know I had that many doubles, to be honest, but you're bound to run into a few. So in conclusion, a custom shelf is definitely what I needed. Now keep in mind you can make your own dimensions for it, and building the shelf is actually pretty simple. Now mine, like I say, is 6 feet by 4 feet, but I mean if my top shelf wasn't in the way I could have went 8 feet, or I could have added an extra foot this way. It's all depends on what you want. But anyways, I think it turned out great. I hope you liked this video. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, thank you for viewing.